Recently, a lot of you have been asking, Jeep Noob, why did you get rid of all of your Jeeps? Why did you sell your JKs? And why did you go to Toyotas? Well, the real reason is we just didn't have enough light bars to fit in the JK community. While I thought my collection was on fleek, apparently it's not as lit as I thought it would be. But until then, I'll keep collecting light bars until I have enough to be accepted back into the community. On a serious note, I did want to kind of go over why we sold our JKs and Jeeps and went with Toyota. For a lot of you, this is pretty obvious. I have mentioned that we wanted to do overlanding, and so we picked up the new 4Runner for that. Now, why we didn't pick up a new JKU? Let's go back a little bit. So we had the two-door JK, which I loved. It was great, and it worked out really well, especially off-road. However, I missed the attributes of the 4-door JKU. So I missed just the cargo space, having the longer wheelbase, especially when rock crawling just helps you a little bit more stable. And to me, it just felt like a really good platform. The perfect platforms, in my opinion, are JKUs and XJs, which I'll talk about in another video, but that's kind of what I'm mentioning now. We didn't go back to a JKU for a couple of the reasons. The biggest thing, and I know I'm going to offend a lot of people, was just reliability. The Toyota just has tried and true reliability background on it. Now, a lot of these 4.0 engines are great, and they do have really good reliability also, so I'm not harping on the XJs and the TJs and everything that has the 4.0. Great engine, bulletproof, those last forever. That's not my point. My point is what we were looking at doing with it. So to get into more what I consider overlanding, we wanted something that had the reliability and the capacity to go on longer voyages. Not just that, but we wanted comfort. When you spend $30,000 to $40,000 on a rig, which is what a JK or JKU costs, especially the Rubicons, you know, you're getting a lot of capabilities, but not as much comfort. And yes, this is implied. So anybody who's looking at getting a Jeep JK or a Jeep in general, understand that you're paying for basically what's underneath the body versus what's inside the body. That's a very important keynote for a lot of new Jeep owners. You're not going to get basically the luxury that you get with another vehicle. You're getting the capabilities. So if you're getting it for one reason versus the other, make sure you're getting it for at least the right reason. So that was kind of the biggest things there. I have had H3s in the past. Probably one of the most comfortable off-roading rigs we've ever had to be able to travel with and far. They get a lot of bad rep just because they're Hummers and people think they're they're just not used for their purpose, which is pretty funny. A lot of people don't know that H3s actually with an adventure package they can come with front and rear E-lockers, 456 gears, a 4:1 crawl ratio, and pretty dialed in straight from the factory, which is pretty awesome. They do have the inline 5 for the majority, which was my biggest downfall from it. I hated that it had an inline 5, and I didn't hate the IFS, but it did have its weak points, especially when you went rock crawling, which makes sense. But I digress. So I did want something just a little bit different. Another reason why we didn't go back to a JKU was because the JLs are about to come out. So it would have been like picking up a JKU a couple months before the JLs came out. So while I'm stepping away from Jeeps just temporarily, we may reconsider going back when the JLs come out. I'm going to let that go out and get dialed in just like the first JKs. If the JLs just suck, we'll probably go back to a JKU in the long run. But for right now, we didn't feel it was a good time to just get back in Jeeps anyways, just because it's right at the end of an era and about to start a new one. Another reason I went with the Toyota was just because it's something a little bit different. Right now, the JK community, and no one can deny this, is kind of, I don't know how to explain this better than saying it's just kind of, it's kind of accentuated. I don't know, you have a bunch of people just buying rigs and creating this whole new genre of Jeep owners, whether it's angry eyes or neons or blue, greens, and oranges and a bunch of colors that don't match, and basically creating a new Fast and Furious scene within the Jeep culture. So you go to places like these beach and Jeeps or Jeep meetups at beaches or car shows or whatever, and it's just a bunch of neon lights, loud music, and just like kind of this cliche group of people. And not to down on anybody who fits in that or who loves that lifestyle. It's great, but it's not really the culture that I associate with owning a Jeep, and so it kind of was kind of pushing me away just a little bit. Obviously, I love the Jeep culture, and we're gonna have Jeeps again. I mean, that's without saying. But for right now, it's pretty similar to when everyone went through the AR craze, and people were just buying ARs, not even knowing what they were. And the biggest reason I stepped away from the JK was because I had a JK and not a JKU. Had I had a JKU, I would have held on a little bit longer. Those of you who saw our original videos saw our white JKU, which was by far my favorite build. It was on 37s, had a good lift, had RCV axles, and it was extremely dialed in. I hadn't done gears and lockers yet, but overall everything was coming along really well. I made the mistake of trading it in, tried to get it back, couldn't get it. Long story short, went through a slew of other vehicles, which worked out perfectly because I like doing builds. But it just kind of steered us to where we were now, and we picked up the JK specifically for Colorado. And when Colorado didn't work out, we ended up with a two-door, which I was happy with, but not extremely happy with. So that's what kind of led us where we are now. So for anybody looking, after building multiple different builds of the Jeeps and going to the 4Runner, the biggest difference that I've seen so far is I like to get in a vehicle that I know is going to last for 300,000 miles. Obviously Jeeps do, but for right now, there's just a little bit more reliability with Toyota, which you can't deny. Once again, I will go back to Jeeps, which this is just kind of what I'm talking about right now. We got it for that, we got it for the comfort, we got it for the capabilities. It does have a rear locker, it does have the 4x4 and all those other fancy dials and stuff, more hoopla than we'll ever use, but it does have that capabilities. Obviously, it's got the independent front suspension, which all Jeep owners bash against, but it'll do the job for what we wanted to do, which is going to be perfect for that. Also gets a little bit better gas mileage. Obviously, you don't buy these rigs for the gas mileage, but that is, a key factor when you're traveling further distances away. That and it kind of limits how I build it. When I get a JK, I love to put it on 35s to 37s, depending on the platform, and build it for rock crawling. And that kind of limits where you can take it. It doesn't limit it per se, because you can still take those very far. However, it limits it in the fact that you can't take it as easily further. So with this 4Runner, we put 33s on it, give it a slight lift. It's going to be dialed in and perfect for everything that I want it to do, versus getting another JK right now, tossing it on 37s, dealing with 14 miles per gallon, and dealing with a vehicle that you kind of have to white knuckle on the roads, going like 55 miles an hour. Specifically for us, it was for that purpose. There's a lot of other things that kind of go into it. And final note, it's kind of exciting to start a whole nother platform. When you build so many of the same things, you kind of, like, as soon as I get a JK, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know what parts, I know exactly what brands, I know what dealers I'm going to use, and I know exactly how I'm going to make it perform to the best of its capabilities. Moving to 4Runners gave me a whole nother spectrum of having to learn, having to do a bunch of research, and look up exactly what works. And that's one of my favorite parts, figuring things out. So take it out stock, build it up your way based off research and stuff. So I'm really excited about that too. A lot of people just kind of get a rig and throw money at it based off online research without any practical research at all. That's pretty much it for why we did that. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. If you like that information, like this video, please, and thank you. Also, you can hit us up on Instagram. And if you have any questions, we talk to a bunch of people. I always say this. I appreciate that a lot, and thanks for everyone who comments and gives me criticism, good or bad. I'm always looking to grow. So that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys have a great weekend. As you can see, this Yeti's below us, which we picked up yesterday. You can watch our yesterday's video and see more about that. Pretty excited about that cooler for going into the back of our overlanding rig. Go out and buy you some more light bars, because you can never have enough light bar. I'll see you on the flip side, more videos to come, and I'll touch base again Monday. I promise you guys more details about our July trip. We're going to hook you up with that over the weekend and get you squared away.